When I was 8 years old, my family moved to Lima, Peru for my parents' work in the development field. One day, I found a bird with a broken wing, and as a dorky homeschooled kid and the daughter of 2 medical care workers, I determined I could nurse it back to health. So I put it in a cardboard box and tucked it away on the roof of our 3-story apartment building. The next day, when I went to check on the bird, the earth started shaking beneath me. It was as if someone had placed the whole world on one of those vibrating workout machines. And fearing for my life, I rushed down the stairs. Panels from the roof started falling behind me, so I ducked into our apartment. I learned later this is definitely not what you're supposed to do during an earthquake. But as a prairie kid, I was a bit out of my element. I was not used to the earth shifting in a way I had no control over, and I experienced for the first time fear of the earth and loss of the stable ground I was used to standing on. In our current age, we are facing fear of the earth, much like that which I faced as an 8-year-old. With the reports of drastic changes in the climate coming, the shaking has started, and we have no idea where to run. In the field of environmental research, I have come to realize just how overwhelming the data is about our climate. In recent years, the media has been oversaturated with images of burning forests, dying coral reefs, flooding cities, rising sea levels, plastic-filled sea creatures, and now a global pandemic. Within the field of environmental research, we are bombarded with statistics, reports, and evidence demonstrating that our climate is changing as a product of human activity. As well, we are overly aware of how little is being done. As students, we attend universities where we are taught of the climate changing, while these same institutions invest heavily in the fossil fuel industry. We face a government that continues to build oil infrastructure instead of investing in sustainable energy, and we battle against the masses of people telling us that we are overreacting for caring about our climate. At a conference this past year for environmental organizations in New Brunswick, a section of the afternoon was dedicated to processing climate grief. We as climate researchers are so overwhelmed with this hopeless information that we've begun to grieve our lost future. I, however, am far too optimistic to embrace a position in which we do not succeed. Humans are far too resilient, far too powerful, and far too determined not to solve this issue. So this is why I've begun to plan for the future I don't believe in. And today I want to introduce my not-so-revolutionary tool for planning for your future, to look at the blueprints and rewrite them into green prints, to imagine the future greener world. My name is Rachel Bensler. I was an environmental research assistant at the University of New Brunswick, an intern on a sustainable farm this summer, and now working as a student consultant for the Nature Trust. I'm also in my last year of my degree, studying a Bachelor of Philosophy in Interdisciplinary Leadership with a minor in International Development Studies. Through my degree and my role, I have learned the importance of hope. And specifically through my research, I've gained a desire to share some of this hope to those watching this video today. Many of you are the future leaders of our industries. However, after the government and society successfully readjust our infrastructure to support the environment and prevent a climate catastrophe, we will need to maintain a level of sustainable industry that we currently do not have. We will be entering into the most innovative period of any industry in the world as we adjust to acting on climate change. So what does this look like? How do we plan for this future? How can we create 5 or 10-year plans with this knowledge? As children, we were told we can grow up to be anything or anyone we want to be. Astronauts, doctors, lawyers, politicians, or in my case, a princess ballerina. Whatever it was, our parents, media, and society was telling us our futures were an open door of opportunity. In my grade 6 year, I decided I wanted to be a spy. In junior high, an actor. In high school, a model. And now a lawyer. Sometimes life gets a bit crazy and we change our minds, but the only limiting factor we were told was our dreams. Our Western generation, however, was never asked to take the environment into consideration. Beyond the normal logistics which limit our abilities to grow up to be ballerina princesses, there are massive environmental factors which we need to take into account. There is undeniable evidence that our climate is indeed changing, and I could spend hours proving this point, but there are so many scientists and young people already advocating for this. So instead, I would rather talk about something less spoken about. What happens if we listen to them? With the current strategies for climate adjustment, the major changes that we require are in our sourcing and consumption of energy through our homes, jobs, and transport. Additionally, the environmental changes already occurring have produced changes in global issues, which will influence the priorities of our future industries. COVID-19 is a perfect example of how quickly our world can transform as a product of a global change. Unfortunately, even if we entirely stopped emitting greenhouse gases right now, climate change would continue for decades. Additionally, individual action, while important, is not the point here. This tool will not give you all the answers, nor will my talk paint a perfectly accurate picture of the future. The 4 key shifts will be in energy production and consumption, transportation, food, and travel. The way these shifts will impact each industry are hard to cover in one TED Talk, so use these categories as indicators for your research into your specific dreams. Think of how changes in energy sourcing might change your industry, or adjustments in consumerism might change your priorities. Imagine how transport reduction might impact your career, or how the emergence of sustainable food sources might change your lifestyle. This thought exercise is about transforming how we dream of our futures to align with a more sustainable picture. So what does this look like? Let's take a peek at the tool on the left, which is an empty format. You can screenshot this if you'd like, or I've included a QR code so you can scan to have access to the PDF version. On the right-hand side, I've shown a partially filled in version. You can use bullet points, or when I used this tool for myself initially, it honestly looked like a bunch of scribbles, and that's okay too. What is important is that you understand your own dreams. So I turned my green print into 5 statements to demonstrate the influence of picturing my dreams as more sustainable. On the screen now, you can see my 5 initial goals without thinking about the environment. Number 1, I want to be a human rights or environmental lawyer and fight for Indigenous citizenship rights in South America. 2, inspired by Dennis Edney, I would like to travel across the world giving speeches to young people about being a lawyer. 3, I want to have a home base in Canada, a dog, a big house, and a car with heated seats. 4, I want to go on vacation every 2 years to somewhere warm. And 5, I want to love my job, be in love, and not be afraid to try new things. Taking the environment into account, this is how the plan changes. I want to be a human rights or environmental lawyer and fight for citizenship rights of displaced peoples. This goal adjusts slightly because I'm anticipating the issues that will come with climate change and also how we'll solve some of the more intersectional issues of climate change. Addressing how our industries will change doesn't just deal with the environment, it also deals with how climate change disproportionately impacts already marginalized communities. So I can adjust my goals to hopefully help those people. 2, inspired by Dennis Edney, I would like to record an online series or lecture for young people about being a lawyer. Again, this goal changes slightly, from traveling around giving speeches live to recording a series online that's accessible from anywhere. While this ultimately shifts slightly, as we all know, the experience of being in person is different, it gives me the opportunity to reach people without having a negative impact on the environment. 3, I want to have a home base wherever I work, a dog, a sustainable house, and a sustainable source of transport, and eat primarily vegetarian or local-based diet. Now, this one has a lot of changes. There's everything from where I'm working to where I'm living to how I'm living. These are important things to picture, especially when it comes to our diet. About 15% of global emissions come from the meat and dairy industry alone, so it's important to address how this might change. 4, I want to go on vacation every 2 years to somewhere close, locally run, and sustainable. Again, this goal changes, but it doesn't take away the core value of what that goal was, which is to have a space to relax and to enjoy myself. So to make it more sustainable, for me in Calgary, I could go to Banff instead of Costa Rica, or I could maybe go to Vancouver. It's still a distance, but it's so much more sustainable than flying across the world. 5, I want to love my job, be in love, and not be afraid to try new things. When it comes to this last goal, nothing needs to change, because ultimately the goal of this tool is not to completely transform how you see yourself living in 5 or 10 years. It's to give you a picture of what that looks like in a sustainable world. Envisioning a future that contrasts the image we were told is success as children is essential to planning for a better future. These are really just the bare bones of what we need to address. It begins here, but it does not end here. Those who have the social and financial mobility to act on this talk right now are among a small percentage of the entire global population. My hope is that in achieving a sustainable world, this tool will be useful for anyone. It is a simple format for dreaming of your future, of picturing a sustainable life instead of a nuclear family with a white picket fence. It allows you to envision a whole different future. My hope is that our generation will be the last to have to ask these questions, that we will be the last ones to have to shout, "How dare you?" and that we can look at the future generations and say, look what we can accomplish when we work together, when we ask questions, and when we act quickly. When that earthquake struck over 10 years ago, the clock on our wall fell to the ground and broke. The time was frozen to the exact second that the earthquake struck. Time was stopped, and any time to prepare was gone, and we had to pick up the broken pieces of our fallen roof tiles, shattered mirrors, and broken dishes. But the clock hasn't run out for us. It has not stopped, and we still have time. We will solve this problem. So start planning for the future you don't believe in, and the shaking ground won't seem so scary anymore. Thank you.